Most men think attraction starts with what they say. It doesn't. It starts with what they ask. And I'm going to tell you something right now that will completely change the way you interact with women. The right question, asked at the right moment, does something to a woman's brain that no compliment, no joke, no smooth line ever could. It creates a pull, a warmth, a feeling she can't quite explain but absolutely cannot ignore. That's what this video is about. 6 questions that turn women on, not in a cheap, surface-level way, but in the deep, oh, this man is different kind of way that she'll be thinking about hours after the conversation ends. And before you assume you already know these, you don't. Because the questions most men ask women are polite, safe, forgettable. What do you do for work? Where are you from? Do you come here often? Those questions don't turn anyone on. They turn conversations into job interviews. What I'm about to show you is the difference between a man a woman enjoys talking to and a man she can't stop thinking about. Stay with me. Here's what nobody tells men about attraction. And I say this as a woman, so listen closely. Women are not turned on by perfection. We're not turned on by the most polished opener or the most impressive resume. We are turned on by depth, by the feeling that someone actually sees us. Not just our surface, but the parts of us we rarely get to talk about. Most men are completely unaware of this. They spend so much energy trying to present themselves well, the right outfit, the right joke, the confident posture, and those things matter, yes. But what seals the deal? What creates that magnetic, electric pull that makes a woman lean in just a little closer? It's the question she didn't see coming. The question that makes her pause. The one that makes her feel for just a moment, this man is actually curious about who I am. Not what I look like, not what I do, who I am. And here's the thing, most men never ask those questions. Not because they don't care, but because they don't know which questions those are. That's exactly what we're covering today. Ask her these 6 questions that turn women on instantly and watch how the entire energy of the conversation shifts. Watch how she stops looking around the room. Watch how she starts looking at you. But first, I need to tell you something about why this works. Because if you understand the psychology behind it, you won't just memorize a list. You'll understand attraction itself. Women are wired for emotional resonance. That's not a stereotype. That's neuroscience. The female brain processes emotion and social connection through more neural pathways than the male brain does. This means that a woman doesn't just experience a conversation, she feels it. When you ask a generic question, she answers it and feels nothing. When you ask a question that reaches something real inside her, her nervous system responds, her heart rate changes slightly, she becomes more present, more engaged, more attracted. This is not manipulation, this is connection. And connection is the most powerful form of attraction there is. So here are the 6 questions, and I want you to pay attention not just to the words, but to why each one works. The first question, ask her this. What's something you're genuinely proud of that most people don't know about? Stop. Read that again. This question is a masterpiece, and most men would never think to ask it. Here's why it works. Every woman has a part of herself she rarely gets to show, a hidden talent, a personal achievement, something she worked hard for that never quite made it into small talk. When you ask her this question, you're giving her permission to be more than what's visible, and that feels incredible. Think about it from her perspective. How many men ask her what she does for fun? Dozens. How many ask what she's proud of? Almost none. The moment you ask this, you've separated yourself from every other guy she's talked to this week. She'll pause. She'll smile a little, a real smile, not a polite one. And she'll tell you something real. And once someone tells you something real, the emotional door is open. Don't rush past her answer. Listen. Ask a follow-up. Let her feel heard. That combination, the right question plus genuine attention, is more attractive than any physical attribute you could ever lead with. The second question, ask her, if you could live a completely different life for just 1 year, what would it look like? This question does something quietly brilliant. It taps into her fantasy, not a romantic fantasy, a life fantasy. Her unspoken desires, her suppressed ambitions, the version of herself she sometimes wonders about. Women think about this more than men realize. The life they didn't choose, the paths they didn't take. And almost no one ever asks them about it. When you do, two things happen simultaneously. One, she feels seen in a way that's rare. Two, she begins to associate you with the feeling of possibility, of freedom, of someone who gets it. There's a psychological phenomenon called emotional pairing. Whatever emotion a person feels while talking to you, they begin to associate with you. If she feels understood, expansive, excited, she pairs that feeling with your presence. She starts to like how she feels around you. That's attraction. Not your jawline, not your cologne, the way you make her feel inside a conversation. The third question. Ask her, what's something most people get wrong about you? This one is almost unfairly effective. And here's why. Every woman has been misread, judged too quickly, put into a box, the bubbly one, the quiet one, the intimidating one, the one who seems like she has it all together. Whatever the label, she's tired of it. She's been carrying it for years. When you ask what people get wrong about her, you're signaling something profound. I'm not assuming. I want to know the truth. She will not only answer this question, she will open up in a way that surprises even her. Because you've touched something she's been waiting for someone to actually ask. And here's the twist. Once she tells you the real her, she becomes invested. Psychologically, we bond with people we reveal ourselves to. It's called self-disclosure reciprocity. The more she shares with you, the more connected she feels. The more connected she feels, the more she wants to be around you. One question, that's all it takes to start that chain reaction. Now we're getting into the territory most men never reach. These next three questions aren't just conversation starters, they're emotional accelerants. Used correctly, they create a level of intimacy that normally takes weeks to build in a single conversation, but you have to earn them. But the first three questions build rapport. These next three build resonance. There's a difference. Rapport is comfortable. Resonance is magnetic. The fourth question. Ask her, when was the last time you did something that scared you a little? And how did it feel after? This question is electric. Here's why. It presupposes courage. It presupposes growth. It presupposes that she is someone who occasionally steps outside her comfort zone. And it invites her to remember and relive that feeling of triumph, of aliveness. When someone recalls a peak emotional experience, they re-experience a version of that emotion in real time. So when she remembers doing something brave and feeling proud afterward, she feels a version of that excitement and pride right now while talking to you, and she'll associate that feeling with you. But there's more. This question also reveals her values, her fears, her relationship with risk. You learn who she is in one answer. And she can feel that you're paying attention to the real things about her, not just what's on the surface. Most men at this point in a conversation would still be talking about their job. You're already 3 levels deeper. The fifth question. Ask her, what kind of people make you feel most like yourself? Let me explain why this is the most underrated attraction question in existence. When you ask who makes her feel most like herself, she has to go inward. She has to think about the conditions under which she feels free, comfortable, fully expressed. And as she describes that person or those people, she's essentially describing what she values in connection. Pay close attention to her answer, because what she's telling you is exactly what kind of man she's drawn to, without realizing that's what she's doing. But more importantly, she finishes the answer, looks at you, and some part of her brain quietly wonders, is he that kind of person? You've planted a seed of curiosity without saying a single word about yourself. She becomes curious about whether you fit the picture she just painted. That's not a trick. That's elegant. That's what great conversation does. It creates questions inside someone that only you can answer. The sixth question. Save this one. This is the closer. Ask her, what's something you used to believe that you completely think differently about now? This question is intimate in a way that feels almost intellectual, but hits somewhere emotional, because growth is personal. Changing your mind means you've lived something. You've been shaped by experience. It requires humility and self-awareness to even have an answer. When she answers this, she's not just giving you information. She's showing you who she was and who she's become. She's trusting you with her evolution, her story. And that, for a woman, is deeply, viscerally attractive when the moment is mutual. When she finishes answering, share your own version, briefly, authentically. The shift from question to genuine exchange is where chemistry stops being potential and becomes real. This is the moment in a conversation that women replay later. Not the compliment he gave, not how good-looking he was, the conversation that went somewhere, the one that felt different. Let me show you the contrast, because I think it'll land harder this way. Two men approach the same woman at a party. First man, "What do you do?" "Oh, interesting, I'm in finance." "Do you come to these things often?" "Yeah, me too." Polite, safe, gone from her memory by the time she drives home. Second man, same party, same woman. "What's something you're proud of that most people don't know about you?" She pauses. She tilts her head slightly. Something in her face changes, like she just realized this conversation is going to be different. She answers. He listens. He asks the fifth question. She finds herself describing exactly the kind of person she's always wanted. She looks at him. She wonders. Same woman, same night, completely different experience. The second man didn't have a better face or a more impressive career. He just asked better questions. That's the truth most men haven't been told. Attraction is not something you display. It's something you create together in the space between two people who are actually paying attention to each other. Women don't go home thinking about the man who impressed them. They go home thinking about the man who understood them, the man who made them feel like what they said actually mattered. That is the most attractive thing in the world, and you now know exactly how to do it. Here's the realization I want you to carry out of this video. Attraction is not a performance. It's a presence. For too long, the conversation around men and dating has been about doing more, being funnier, looking better, talking smoother. And yes, those things play a role. But the man who consistently draws women in, who she keeps texting, who she introduces to her friends, who she thinks about at 11 p.m., that man isn't performing. He's present. He's genuinely curious. He asks questions that most people are afraid to ask because they're afraid the answer will matter. Here's the secret. Women want the answer to matter. They're hoping someone cares enough to ask. These 6 questions work not because they're clever lines. They work because they signal something rare, that you are a man who is actually interested in a woman as a full human being. With a past, with depth, with dreams she hasn't told anyone yet. Ask her those questions. Mean them. Listen to the answers. And watch how everything changes. Because the men who understand this don't chase women. Women find themselves leaning toward them, without quite knowing why. Now you know why. And speaking of things women do that most men completely misread. If you want to know whether a woman is already crazy about you before she ever says a word, you need to watch this next video right now. It's called, "If a Woman Greets You Like This, She Is Crazy About You." And the signs in it are so specific, so telling, that most men walk right past them every single day without realizing what they mean. The way she says hello to you, it reveals everything. Click it. You'll see exactly what I mean.